Commentary levels on air. Ben's getting very excited now, and we are going into the first corner.
It's good for you. Do you hear yourself?
Yeah.
Well?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome along to Vallelunga for the penultimate 2 rounds of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. It's the 5th round for the European Championship that we're going to kick off, and the Autodromo Vallelunga Piero Taruffi is our venue for both the 5th rounds and the 6th rounds, and it's a very interesting mix of conditions that we have out there today. Just 8 degrees track temperature. Air temperature even less, and as all these drivers walked the circuit this morning, they will have experienced a decent amount of humidity in the air. It says 93% and descending. It was lovely weather when they qualified yesterday, but it's a bit of a tricky one whether you go on your wet or your dry tires. It's certainly going to get drier. There doesn't seem to be any rain in the air, but for our AM and our Lamborghini Cup drivers, which will kick off today's action, a bit of a head scratcher. My name is Ben Costangeris. There is the conditions around the back of the circuit. Just 8 degrees air temperature, as I said. Humidity when I walked into the circuit was over 95%, so it is dropping slowly, but it's certainly not the day that we had yesterday, which was just stunning. So with us in Vallelunga for today's races and then next week's races, we will be splitting our grid so that the AM and the Lamborghini Cup drivers have their own race. And then, of course, the Pro and the Pro-Am drivers will race a little bit later on. This is round 5, race 1. And then this afternoon will be round 5, race 2. And then we will still have 2 more races left of the season. Effectively, this race is replacing what should have been the opening round of the championship in Imola. When that got cancelled at the start of the season, they decided to use this as a way, and an easy way to replace that. The Egyptian, Ibrahim Badoué, is therefore on the pole position. The first time he will have been staring at a clean track ahead of him. Pole position for the AM Cup usually is right in the middle of the chaos and the pack. He has Giovanni Anapoli alongside him in the VRS Lamborghini Super Trofeo Hurricane. The Evo 2 version is the car that we use since the last 2 years. And actually, it looks like Anapoli got his time disallowed. So Figlioni lines up along in 3rd position. And that's the first 3 of our AM drivers. Shares that car with Coupons, as you can see. And then alongside him is the first of our Lamborghini Cup drivers and the leader of the championship, Paolo Biglieri and Peter Matic even. Fifth on the grid, Dubelli and Meyerhouse. El Dubelli setting that time and partnering with Meyerhouse in the 4th of our AM driver lineups. Julien Piget and Alban Veruti, drivers that we've seen take the AM Cup in GT4. Julien Piget with lots of racing in Michelin Cup as well. Busy man. And alongside him, Jean-Francois Bounot. And he shares that car with Kirong Lee for Leopard. Looking at most of the cars, they have gone on the slick tyre. You can see that by the red marking on the sidewall of the tyre. Can't see too many cars that don't have that. And therefore, that's good for the long run. That's good for the full 50-minute race that we have. It will be tricky for the first couple of laps. They'll have to keep very aware of the white curbs, of the white lines around this circuit, and an opportunity, therefore, for us to have a look at this Vallelunga circuit for the first time. It has been resurfaced recently. At least the last part of the lap has. Offers up good grip, but it is very narrow, the last sector of the lap. So the first two corners, not really corners, as you can see in the background of the shot. Curva Grande, very, very fast. Let's have a look at the full grid then. And it's Badue and Napoli on the front row. Fagioni and Biglieri on row 2, the leader of our Lamborghini Cup in 4th position. Dubelli and Piget, 2 Frenchmen, line up on row 3. And Rindone and Ronfroy Buno on row 4, both teammates at Leopard, with Krebs and Wilfried Casabon in 10th position. Harmson and Charlie Martin line up on row 6. Mozulski and Hernandez Ortega on row 7. And a healthy grid of cars, despite the fact that we've effectively taken 2 classes away. Such is the popularity of the Super Trofeo this year. A huge amount of cars on this grid. Some drivers joining for the last couple of rounds as well. Frermut and Doms on row 10. And then Wagner is the last car on our grid on the 11th row on their own. Just having a look at their time. They did set a good time for Mechanic Motorsport. And now a chance to see the last part of the lap and just how fiddly this last part is. That's the S's. Safety car lurking in the background. And then you come down into, well, we've actually gone through most of it. So you now come through the final turn, which is known as Roma. Look how little space there is between the circuit and the barrier. We are going to go for a second warm-up lap, such as the conditions. And it looks as though the clock has started. So therefore, I didn't see the notification, but it looks as though we might be starting under safety car conditions. Just because the circuit is still a bit humid. An opportunity, therefore, to actually have a look properly at the circuit once again. This is Curva Grande, very, very fast, big and wide, all the way down to effectively what is turn 4, but really the first braking zone of the lap. Chimney 1. And one of the big characteristics of this circuit, as you can see there, is how much camber these corners have. They really throw you through them. Chimney 2 is turn 5, and then there's a little kink that doesn't have a name. It's more of an acceleration zone down to the big stop at Campagnano, which is where the Acci driving school is situated, just above it. This circuit now owned by the Automobile Club Italia. Big, long, flat, sweeping right-hander is that corner. And then a much bigger stop at Sorata, turn 8. Now we're getting our cars slowed down a bit. This is turn 8. There's the long lap in the foreground for the bikes. The Italian Championship, visiting this place twice. As, we don't have too many international championships coming to Vallelunga any longer. The last one probably was the World Touring Car Cup, the electric version. And now the very fiddly last part of the lap. Semaforo and Tornatino. Very, very small, almost like a go-kart track when you see this from above. Very, very tight. And for these big Lamborghini Super Trofeos, tricky to get them turned correctly. So it looks like we're going for a race start here. Live timing has begun. So it's as though we are racing. This is the S's, by the way. Flit left, flit right, but any mistake and you're straight into a wall. You can see the wall's so very close. And there are the damp patches on the circuit as well. So, side by side. This is a proper, rather than a safety car start. By the way, to the inside. And a Napoli to the outside. coming towards the lights turn green, and we are underway. It's a very, very bunched start. A few people maybe caught out and not in the correct gear as they come across the line, and now it's a massive sprint down towards the first braking point at Chimney. Round the outside goes Napoli to try and take the lead of this race, and he does so before the braking zone. Badaway looks to the inside to try and take that position back straight away, and he does. Lovely work, and there's a battle for third position going on as well. Vallelunga, Biglieri and Dubelli involved in that one, who is the third car in that queue, who has succeeded jinking out of the slipstream. It's the first of our Lamborghini Cup cars, so it is the 63 of Julien Piget, who's made a fantastic start from row 3, and Piget looks like he might try and challenge to go around the outside here. We've got Napoli back in the lead of the race, Badaway being boxed in, and Piget trying to go all the way around the outside. You would expect this from a man with so much experience in racing. He's got the confidence in this first couple of corners, but now finds himself trying to go around the outside. The more you try and do that, the more you're inviting others around behind to try and overtake. He's going to have the inside line for the next corner. He's run very, very deep, and look at that, the 88 trying to go all the way around the outside. That's Jean-Francois Bruno, another very talented racer. On the curbs, big slide for Badaway. Holds onto the car through the S's, but wow, that could have been disastrous. What it has done is everybody else got out the throttle, and look at that now. Napoli's got the lead of the race. Round the outside goes Julien Piget up to second spot. Confidence, that's what it's all about here in this first lap. Badaway drops to third spot from the lead. Fourth position is François Bruno. Then Vallelunga, Biglieri, Ridone dropping further down to 8th position, Dubelli and Krebs, the next of that big cluster of cars that came over the line after one lap. It was always going to be a challenge, and Ibrahim Badaway still struggling with confidence on this second lap. This is all about these difficult conditions. We're not going to really talk about the championship too much in this morning session of races, because we still have 60 points up for grabs in each of the classes, and so tiny are the gaps that nothing's really going to have a massive effect in these early runnings. That's Hernandez Ortega under pressure in 10th position from Wilfried Casabon. So much changing going on throughout the pack as tyres get up to temperature, as drivers get up to temperature as well. How many coffees have they had in the morning? The espresso here. We're just 30 kilometers north of Roma. It is the fuel of your morning. And these Super Trofeo Lamborghini noises echoing over the hills around this circuit, as we're into the start of lap 3 now. It's Napoli, Varuti. Now I've got Varuti on my timing screen, but Piget on my grid. Not sure who is in that car, quite honestly. Let's go with the timing screen, shall we? As Jean-Francois Bruno now gets past Ibrahim Badaway, dropping him down to 4th position. First of our Lamborghini Cup drivers, number 32, Paolo Biglieri, starting in 3rd position. Wow, that's a late move down the inside from Ibrahim Badaway. Gets that move done, very much a stopper kind of a move, preventing François Bruno from even claiming the apex. Bruno needs to get on with this though, because he knows he's handing over to Kieron Lee later on. He needs to build a gap for Kieron Lee. And he's also seeing Varuti and Piget and the VSR machine of Napoli getting away up the road. It's a really good position for Napoli, who's not really been had a very happy hunting ground this year. So Piquet, according to that timing screen in the car, now it's updated. So yeah, it is Piquet and not Veruti in the 63 machine. Timing screens have now confirmed that and sorting themselves out very slowly. Here's Biglieri under pressure from Rindone. Doesn't matter too much to the 32 machine. Leading the Lamborghini Cup, his next rival in terms of points is down in 9th position. Now, 9th position isn't far away because 9th position is definitely in this gaggle of cars. And that is Jürgen Krebs, the 65 machine. And I think Krebs is a little bit, we should be in that pack. So, yeah, just slightly dropping off the back of the pack, I think, at the moment. This is Rindone. And now those slick tyres will be up to temperature. They'll be burning off any water that exists on the surface of the road, and they will start now giving these drivers confidence, giving these drivers grip. Still see patches through the final turn. And again, that camber, that positive camber, helping the car through the corner. You can really sling the cars through some of these corners just because of the way the circuit kind of helps you grip. That is a very fast corner. Jürgen Krebs in the 65 then. First quick glance at the Leopard run machine, just at the back of this queue. Biglieri holding on at the moment from Rindone in 6th position overall. Run by Benaldi Motorsport. And actually, could you say that Biglioni here is being held a little bit back by Vallelunga ahead of him? I think so. Because Jean-Francois Bruno is 2 seconds up the road from this slot, but Faglioni has serious pressure right now from Biglieri. As I said, different classes between the two of them, so much like Biglieri won't be worried too much about Rindone behind, he's not really going to be too bothered about overtaking for 5th position. Now, over the line comes our pole man, and Ibrahim Badaway now has the fastest lap of the race. And he's just about matched that on this lap as well. That was last lap, but he has pulled a gap to Jean-Francois Bruno. You can see there, 2.6 seconds the gap between Badaway and Bruno. And he's starting to set his sights on the leaders of our race, which are only separated by 0.6 of a second. So I imagine those two will start tripping each other up as they start fighting. A little look there from Biglieri. Can't find a way through at the moment. Certainly feels as though he's being held up by the number 2 machine ahead. And at the back of that queue is Krebs. That's the one that Biglieri is really worried about, is the 65 car. In that queue, but with a couple of cars between himself and his Benaldi machine. Now again, just sticking his nose in, just moving around in the mirrors, just trying to distract Faglioni, trying to put him off. Biglieri is our championship leader in the AM category, and it's the Privatellios who are the nearest challengers, but we have to look down to 17th position to find Donovan and Luciano. So the second half of the race will come alive for them, of course, with our two driver races having such different performance levels. That's what I love about these races. Actually, Privatello losing a position on that last lap as well. Now, a little mistake from Biglieri on that last lap. He's dropped off the back of Feligioni, and Giacomo Ridoni here looking to try and find a way through. Doesn't need to defend it too hard. Biglieri very deep into there, very, very late on the brakes. You can see there was a mistake. Whoa! Giacomo Ridoni coming into shot sideways. Thought he maybe had an opportunity because Biglieri had gone so deep into the chimney one. It's kind of, you can do it. You've got to get the nose in. A Napoli here. Listen to the engine. Beautiful noise as he puts the hammer down. Now, has he got traffic? I think there's a car just ahead of him. Yes, there are. And the number 24 machine gets out the way pronto, which is the car of Fremut. So they haven't been compromised too much, but look at Julien Piget. Track getting better. Piget has the fastest lap of the race now. As I said, the more these two scrap, the more these two trip each other over, and Napoli starts looking in his mirrors, the more that's going to invite Badouet into the party. There is Ibrahim Badouet through shot in third, ignore fourth. Then we've got Jean-Francois Bruno, and then there's a little bit of a gap really developing between this group of Feligioni, Biglieri, Ridoni, and Dubelli is part of that as well now, with Krebs behind him. It's looking quite foggy around the back of the circuit. I wonder if we've got a little bit more, well, yeah, basically fog. Feels like a proper Sunday morning here in the Italian countryside. There is rolling hills. There's not much gradient to this circuit, only 200 meters gradient between the highest and lowest points. But around the circuit, plenty of rolling hills. Beautiful area of the world. And we've also got two big lakes, which encourage the humidity. Julien Piget then, as far as I can work out, new to the championship this weekend, or certainly this year's championship. So he's a bit of a spanner in the works for those that are fighting for a championship. Gabriel Rindone is the championship leader in AM, but he only leads by 2.5 points over Ibrahim Badouet. And Badouet in a much better position in this race, not leading. And Napoli, by the way, who is leading our race, has had a best result of third in race 2 at the Nürburgring. We kind of have to ignore the third position in Spa in race 2 because there wasn't any racing really that happened in that second race. It was so wet. So this is an absolute starring performance really from Napoli for the moment. Oh, down the inside, trying to find a way through on Feligioni. Biglieri can't do it, but he's caught back up with the number 2 machine. And they, in turn, are definitely catching Jean-Francois Bruno. Bruno half a second slower on the last lap alone. And absolutely, this is going to be a 3-horse race for 4th position. A little bit wide from the number 2 machine. Kind of can get away with it through that first part of the stadium complex at the end of the lap through Semafordo, because it gives you the inside line for the next one, which is even tighter. Round the final turn, round Roma, that's Dubelli. We're going to have a look at this replay here. Sticks his nose in. very, very late. And actually, on that occasion, it didn't really distract the number 2 machine at all, did it? Napoli leads. Piquet in second position for Auto Vitesse. Now, there was a squeal of tyres I heard in the back of shot there. Somebody locked up one of those 2 cars. And now Badaway comes through in third position. Biglieri, the number 32, is missing. And I think this is going to be the replay. Gets his wheels on the curb, so easy to do. And round goes Biglieri, our Lamborghini Cup leader, and he drops behind Jürgen Krebs and loses the lead of the Lamborghini Cup. No harm done to the car, still plenty of racing to come. We've got 30 minutes left of this race, and of course a pit stop window where we'll exchange one driver for another for those that have a second driver. But Biglieri's going to be kicking himself for that little mistake. Jürgen Krebs now leads. What's the gap between the 2 of them? I think it's 12 seconds. So there's a big old hole that Biglieri's fallen into. Comes around the final turn now. Actually, it's not too bad. There is Krebs coming on across the line now. So it is 3.1 seconds. Well, that's better than 12, isn't it? And Napoli now with the fastest lap of the race in his VRS white, yellow and blue machine. Grows the gap by 0.3 of a second over Julien Piquet. Badaway 3.7 behind, then Bruno, Feligioni, Ridone. They're all kind of separated quite equidistantly. The battles that we saw at the start of the race have certainly spread. There is Andrei Lewandowski getting ready to take over from Gregor Moschlitz, who is down in 13th position. So Lewandowski, who's a 2-time champion in various classes, is going to be desperate to put the hammer down there. He sits 6th in the championship. The 2 of them only with 2 second places as their best results. And the window now opens. So if you want to, you can come in and take your slower driver out and put your faster driver in. Now, I see that Privitello's already in, but that feels as though they might have come in a little bit early. Unless they were that far behind. There is the Macau flag. Not quite sure why there's a Macanese flag on the side of the Privitello's car. Is it Macau or Hong Kong? Either way. Luciano registered as a San Marinan, and Donovan, even though they sound Italian, is actually, I think, registered as a Frenchman. Oh no! Into the gravel goes the number 17 machine of Doms. And there's no coming out of there. And that could also spell disaster for the safety car needing to come out, because he's going nowhere. That might be, let's have a look. Here's a replay. Yeah, he's tightening the wheel to come into the pits. Oh, and he needed to put his foot on the brakes. That's disastrous. Through the S's, slowing down to bring the car into the pits. And I think we're going to have a safety car. Surely we're going to need a safety car. He's really in a very dangerous position there. But when you bring a safety car out in the middle of a pit window, it spells absolute disaster for the way that the race plays out. And race control will be desperate not to do that. They don't want to affect the race. So pit stops are happening here. We've had Badaway into the pits and Julien Piquet. Now Piquet is going to hand over to Alban Veruti. Ibrahim Badaway is doing it all by himself, remember, so he'll go straight out and he will not he'll have a slightly longer pit stop. He'll have a 3-second longer pit stop, but he will not hand over the car to anybody else. Here is the Auto Vitesse team, Verruti and Piget. Now, Verruti is a very fast pedaler as well. We've seen that in the GT4 Championship. He had to do much of the championship on his own because Julien Piget was busy with the Michelin Cup. Now we haven't got a safety car. We've got a marshal out on circuit. And they're covering that under double waved yellow, as you can see in the S's. And they're not bringing the safety car out because they really don't want to have to affect the race. Whilst people haven't pitted, it has such a detrimental effect. But the drivers really need to pay attention to these yellow flags around the S's. Sometimes when you come off the accelerator and kind of back off because there's a yellow flag flying, can easily have an issue there as well. Kind of what happened to Doms. Came off the throttle, the rear end came around. Now, and he just needed to put his foot on the brake. He chose not to. So, Napoli still leads because he's not pitted yet. Neither is Jean-Francois Bruno. Bruno, the faster of his pairing, with Kieron Lee taking over from that car. Biglieri in the 32 is still circulating as well. There is, on the inset, the 17. We know he's not going anywhere. And you can see the danger zone. So the graphics, the red area showing the showing the kind of red danger area. It's being covered by yellow flags though, rather than red flags. And it will affect the it should affect the pace of the race, but we're only seeing laps a second slower than what they're previously able to do. There's a quick look at Napoli. So he's done 36.3 was his fastest lap. And yeah, okay, you could argue on the last lap he did back off by a second. Comes through the S's. Now we've still got a couple of minutes of that pit window open, but he does choose to come in now. And really clear graphics to show on the left-hand side those that have pitted in pink and those that have not pitted. So really, Bruno, Biglieri, Casabon, we've only got about 6 cars that haven't pitted now as we come to the end of the window. No tyre changes as such, but the drivers, the mechanics will jump on those rear tyres to check the pressures, especially knowing that they started the day in very cold conditions. Those pressures would have been different to what they had yesterday, and they were trying to generate temperature in those wet conditions as well. So change of pressure, usually letting air out rather than putting air in, because of course the pressures relate to the temperature as well. A good stint from Napoli, who hands his car over now to Piergio Ranzano. Now that is a battle. That's Badaway and Verruti. Pre-pit stop, Badaway was behind that number 63 car, but now he's ahead despite the longer pit stop. And effectively, this is the battle. Well, it was the battle of second position. There is the leader coming out of the pits then. And it is the battle effectively for second. They're still side by side. Verruti desperately wants to get past. This is Verruti's first couple of laps in combat. Round the outside, but you can't do that there. Oh, it's a big place to have an accident. Somehow, the two of them continue. Unbelievable. A full 360 from Alban Verruti. Badaway goes through the gravel, and both of them are continuing to race on. That is remarkable. It's such a fast part of the circuit, especially in these hugely fast machines. They've lost no positions. They're still rattling side by side. This is unbelievable. And I still think they might end up catching the number 60 car that's ahead of them. I can't believe what I've just seen. Nobody gets away with an accident at Curva Grande. And somehow these two, number 62 and number 63, have managed it. By the way, is massively defending here. He doesn't need to worry necessarily. Although he'll desperately want the points, he doesn't need to worry too much about this French pairing because they are completely here. Let's have a look at this replay again then. By the way, just with a bit of understeer, tags the back end of Verruti. Verruti does a full 360. And thankfully, that part of the circuit is uncharacteristic to the rest in that it has huge runoff area. I wonder if race control will have a look at that. I mean, both of them got away with it. And by the way, just may even be affected by the aerodynamics at that kind of speed through here. We did see earlier on cars going side by side through there, but I think that was in the early part of the race when we were kind of in that wet, dry period where nobody was really flat out and on the limit. Other battles around the circuits. This right down at the back of the field. Donovan Privatello trying to find a way past the number 6 car of Butavecchius. And as I said, the Privatellos with victories in Ricard. They took a victory in the second race at Spa as well. They've had 2 other podium positions, so this by far their worst performance so far this season. And it doesn't look like Donovan can get anywhere near the 69 machine. Now, pit is shut, but unfortunately, just seeing that that number 17 car coming into the pits. Now, that probably is being towed into the pits, remember, because that was the car that was in the gravel trap. Here comes Donovan, looking to try and find a way through. Jean-Francois Bruno has now exited the pits in the number 88 machine, handed over to Kieron Lee. So, actually, Kieron Lee has exited the pits. Randazzo then is our leader. Battle for second position, still at the back of the shot between Badouet and Verruti. Kieron Lee is dropping down, down, down. That hasn't really worked out for them, has it? Because he's lost more positions. At least Jean-Francois Bruno is in, what, 4th position? That number 88 car now in 7th position. So that promotes Coupons, number 2, up to 4th. Rindone 5th, and Roy Mehrhouse is in 6th position in the number 18 machine. Bruno was in the car at the start, so that is now Kieron Lee. We're waiting for the driver inside the car. They need to make the switch. And they haven't quite done that yet. That replay pre-pit stop. JF on the helmet of Jean-Francois Bruno. Well, actually, it's a kind of a JF and a B, isn't it? Long time American partner, really, of Leopard. And in the AM Cup, they are sitting, well, Jean-Francois is sitting in 5th. Kieron Lee is in 9th because he missed a couple of races, the last 2 rounds in Valencia. And Jean-Francois doing that on his own. So this, at the moment, looking very good for Randazzo. Even better when you consider that Veruti and Badaway have been battling so hard. Here's Coupons in the Boots and VDS machine in that distinct livery in the number 2. Now the 24, Freymut, is 1 lap down, so really should be getting blue flags here to get out the way, which he does. Rindone comes through, and he's followed by Mehrhaus in another of the Boots and VDS cars. Rindone 5th, Mehrhaus 6th, and then Kieran Lee in 7th spot, with Krebs now the first of our Lamborghini Cup cars. And we've got Matic, who is our leader in the championship, isn't he? Matic, taken over from Biglieri, 2nd. And up to 3rd now in that class is Keats, who shares the car with Charlie Martin. Now, it's interesting that they are, yes, 5th in that championship. Another look at Ibrahim Badaway. His first year in racing. Badaway, the Egyptian, properly getting his elbows out with Veruti. And now seems comfortable in that 2nd position, you have to say. 15 minutes remaining. Oh, now that's a slowing Veruti. Well, we just picked him up at the wrong moment. I think Veruti's had a moment there. Still holds on to 3rd position by the looks of things. I don't think Coupons has got past him. Well, I think we're going to see a slow sector. Yes, he has. He's lost 2 positions. Here we go. On the curb, braking. Curbs are still wet. Loses the rear end. And Veruti drops 1 position, drops 2 positions, drops 3 positions. Behind Coupons, behind Mehrhaus and Ridone. Drops to 6th. Well, that's pressure off Badaway then, isn't it? He'll be happy with that. That's a shame for Veruti. Opening weekend for them. Piget and Veruti using this really, I suppose, more of a test session for next Thursday, where we will finish our championship. And then over the weekend, we will then have the World Finals here. So much racing in Vallelunga over the next couple of weeks. Now, battle for 3rd in Lamborghini Cup has changed hands, because it looks as though Jason Ganj-Keats in the 54 has dropped behind Hernandez Ortega. That is down in 13th spot overall. Well, of course, Hernandez Ortega doing this all by himself for BDR. So has that rhythm, has the comfort in the car, knows what the car is doing. And Keats taking over from Charlie Martin. Now, I would have said Veruti's got good pace in that 63 car. So let's have a look to see if he can close down Coupons, Mehrhaus and Ridone ahead. It's a good little battle, actually, for 4th position between Ridone and Mehrhaus right now. There is Randazzo, 3 seconds to the good over Ibrahim Badaway, and actually faster. Coupons is a 2nd faster again. Ridone is even faster than that. Oh, loses the rear end just a little bit. Just tries to step away from him. But with 12 minutes remaining, this is looking quite tasty. Oh, a little twitch from the VSR run Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Can't quite get themselves to the apex. And that was down at turn 7, I think. Here's Badaway. Lamborghini Roma by DL Racing, kind of a home circuit there for the team. Oh, am I hearing squeaky tyres? Was that Randazzo making a little error in underneath our cameraman there? We'll have a look at the gap next time. He'll finish the next sector now. The last sector is really, really tiny. So there is a little sector 2. Didn't lose too much time, just a little bit. Coupons, though, in the number 2 machine, absolutely flying right now. Disappeared from Ridone. And Meyerhouse, I suppose Meyerhouse also kind of being a bit distracting. New to the championship this weekend, Roy Meyerhouse. And just half a second behind Gabriel Rindone. Meanwhile, Coupon says, bye-bye. I'm heading up to try and chase down Badaway and Randazzo. There is that little battle then. And the more they fight, the more chance there is that Veriti will join them, I suppose, in his return after that spin. I think in Lamborghini Cup, that's a very strong performance from Jürgen Krebs. One last time out in Valencia. Actually, the second half of his season has been very strong, Krebs. And we could see him make a late surge, I reckon, on the championship. The Biglieri and Matic car is second in this race. Okay, so actually they will stretch their advantage even further over the Privitellios, who are just not having a good one at all. Might see the Privitellios get up to third in class by the end. There's a look then at the AM standings, taking away the Lamborghini Cup cars. And Napoli VSR, an opportunity just at the back of shot there to have a look at him without a race helmet on. No changes at the moment in this little battle for what is 4th position overall. Lamborghini Cup then, Krebs leading Matic by 24. Hernandez Ortega in 3rd, Keats 4th, Privitellio, okay, 5th position, but I think probably could catch Keats. Could they catch Hernandez Ortega as well in 8.5 minutes? Possibly not. Here is Jürgen Krebs, our leader in the Lamborghini Cup. Handed that lead after a mistake from the 32 car, Biglieri, in that first stint. Krebs was there and thereabouts, but he didn't have to do any passing. It's a very strong run by the German. Swiss German, I should say. Swiss flag adorning the side of Krebs's car. So is this going to be a first victory of the season for Randazzo and the Napoli? 7.5 minutes remaining. The gap's now 2.5. It's not going down massively, is it? Badaway doesn't really have the pace. In the background, Coupons clears, or should clear, this traffic, although that's not really helping, is it? Number 69 kind of rattles his way out of the way, but that wouldn't have helped Coupons whatsoever. Roy Merehouse having to dive down the inside into the first part of the stadium. Feels like it's bubbling, doesn't it? Still got 6.5 minutes remaining, but it doesn't feel like this is over. Gap down to less than 2 seconds now between Randazzo and Badaway at the end of the lap. We've got this little battle between, well, Coupens has made a mistake actually on that. Was that just being held up by the traffic? Coupens back into the little battle with Rindone and Merehouse, surprisingly. Randazzo and Badaway in the same shot now with 6 minutes remaining. The end of the first sector comes all the way down just in the braking zone at turn 7. So here, gap 2.2 seconds just gets slightly modified. Coupens, Rindone, Merehouse just gets better drive. Let's watch this now because Rindone was a little bit wide, but sits on the inside line, defends really hard over Roy Merehouse. There's nowhere through, but again, good drive out of the corner because of the compromised line by Rindone. And Merehouse looks to try and find another way to go into the stadium section. They're both a little bit wide through there, but it kind of seems to work for everybody. And it's just too narrow to throw your car down the inside here. Again, Merehouse with a much better drive, but he's going to have to feather the throttle through S's because there's no way to go 2 cars through there. Whoa, big slide from this 21. I think Merehouse got out the throttle, thinking that Rindone might have gone round there. Middle of the corner, the car seemed to step away from them, but it's a bit kind of follow your leader through the last part of the lap. The opportunities to overtake really are down at Chimney 1 and Chimney 2. No mistakes this time from Rindone. Keeps that 5-second gap, 5.5 second gap alive between himself and the Boutsen VDS, number 18. Merehouse is another one that's been doing the GT4 Championship. And with multiple campaigns for teams like Boutsen VDS, you have that opportunity to move around within the same team, but to go and play in GT3s or GT4s, or indeed then part of their Super Cup, Super Trofeo. And especially on a standalone weekend like we have coming up next weekend here in Vallelunga, an opportunity to make your mark, really. And that is why we'll see a few extra drivers in this weekend's action, and then a few extra entries next weekend as well. Probably also get quite a good deal from a team to race these last 4 rounds of the championship, because they're at the same venue. There'll be no transportation costs for the next weekend, because everyone and everything will just be staying here in Vallelunga. There is action all the way through the week. I think there is a day off on Monday, but resumes with practice and testing and things like that on Tuesday. Not just for the European Championship, but that's when the Americans and the Asians will also get their taste of Vallelunga. It's the 3rd time that Vallelunga's held the World Finals. So those that have done a few years of Super Trofeo will be familiar. Now, down in 13th position, there has been a change, and Donovan Privatello has got himself up into third position in the Lamborghini Cup. That's just happened on the last lap. I thought he might. Will he be able to get past Matic? There is, I don't think, enough time, to be honest. And we've now got quite a bit of traffic to contend with. And that's going to slightly mix up these little battles as well. There's an opportunity for those two to get by Bailly. This is still, therefore, the battle for third position. The gap between our front two has actually extended. So I don't think it's going to change too much between Randazzo and Badoué. Coupons just 0.6 of a second. Oh, there's traffic again. Just 0.6 of a second ahead of Gabriel Rendoni. There they are in shot. Traffic needs to get out of the way. We are on our last lap then. Not many opportunities to change the positions. I'm surprised we're on our last lap, because the leader is already at turn 11. We've got 20 seconds remaining. I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to get to the line before 20. Oh, it's going to be very close, actually. The checkered flag, I think, is being readied for Randazzo. There he is, the VRS car. We've still got 7 seconds of the race remaining. We might go into another lap here. 3, 2, 1, race ends. There's the line. Wow, that is close. Checkered flag for Randazzo and Napoli. They take victory in race 1 here at round 5. Badoué in second and Coupons in third. That is your AM podium. We've got now to try and pick up Jürgen Krebs. Here he is, 11th position. In the end, losing a few spots on the last couple of laps. But he is going to take the Lamborghini Cup win. And that, his second win of the year. Did the same thing in Vallelunga, in Valencia in September. Around the final turn he comes through Roma, and that is a checkered flag for the Swiss. There was a good battle going on though for the remaining positions in Lamborghini Cup. We've still got second and third to come to the line, but that is the winner of the race. For the first time this year, it's been a horrible year for them, but Napoli and Randazzo, sorry, for VSR have victory. Matic and Privatello come across the line together for second and third in the Lamborghini Cup. And Randazzo must have missed the checkered flag, because he comes over the line and takes it for a second time. Race control don't like that. He might get a fine for doing that. Probably nothing more. But from second on the grid, Napoli did a great job in the early part of the race to get himself up into the lead. Created a gap, and then Randazzo just held the gap. Now, what's going on with the race control? Race control have penalised Ibrahim Badoué. And they've dropped Badoué down to 6th position. So Coupons has been promoted. Rindoni has been promoted. Mehrhouse has been promoted. Verruti and Badoué. Badoué's been given a 10-second penalty, but I don't know why. Maybe for that contact with Verruti. Race control, well, maybe I'm looking at the wrong timing screen, but race control haven't said anything. after the race. Randazzo then is going to try and work out how to get to the podium, because the podium here is quite unusual. It's inside the paddock, overlooks the paddock, doesn't overlook the circuit nor the grandstands. Now there's Ibrahim Badway, and he's going, well, I think I should be here because I finished second in the race. But as you can see on the timing screens, it says 6th, and I can only assume that that is because he's been given a penalty for contact with Alban Veruti, where they both spun at Curva Grande. One of the most remarkable things I think I've seen. But there is nothing on my timing screens to suggest why. And obviously TV hasn't been given a graphic to suggest why either. So here is the classification then. Napoli and Randazzo take victory in race 1 of round 5. Fedeggioni and Coupons for Boots and VDS second. Rindone in third. And then Dubelli and Meierhouse fourth, with PJ and Veruti also new to the championship in 5th. Badaway only 6th after a penalty, dropping him from 2nd. And the best of our Lamborghini Cup drivers, Jürgen Krebs 11th overall, with Biglieri and Matic in 12th, and then the Privatellios just behind in 13th. We lost 2 cars. Doms and Wagner were our 2 retirements. So there is Coupons and Fedeggioni confirmed then his 2nd position. Finishing on the road in 3rd, Coupons with a very strong 2nd stint. And in the end, benefiting from that penalty to Ibrahim Badoué. Race Control have asked for the number 60 team manager to come up to Race Control. So they are going to give them a penalty for doing a lap after the checkered flag. And there is not Giacomo Rindone, Gabriel Rindone, our championship leader, who will have now increased the championship lead over Ibrahim Badoué because of that penalty. It looked like it was going to go the other way, you had to say. Badoué with the pole position, Badoué with a really good fight. But Race Control deciding that it was his fault there was contact and giving that 10-second penalty. And Napoli ready to celebrate with Randazzo, Pier Giacomo down in 11th position in the championship. Only 2 teams with less points. But so that is going to be a lot of celebration. What a way to start the day, eh? We'll have a second race this afternoon. And that obviously race 2 of round 5. Gabriele Rindone then holds on to the championship lead. Moves ahead even further of Ibrahim Badoué. Had to do that longer pit stop, of course, because he's also without a teammate. Coupons with a really strong 2nd stint after taking over from Fedeggioni. 2nd position. Now they are 10 points off Rindone in the championship. So that closes up slightly. And Napoli and Randazzo can have a nice lunch, but they will soon be focusing on the 2nd race of the afternoon. Then a few days before round 6 of the championship. So there is the podium, look, overlooking the paddock. And very interestingly, the Lamborghini guys not using the garages here. They're all in their own awnings. So the paddock absolutely packed. Both the inside paddock and the outside paddock. And that is only with European teams. We've got then the Asian and the American teams in a third paddock further out. And the pit box is being used for promotional services. And of course, the very special machines that we will have as demonstrations over the weekend, including the new WEC machine. There was a model of that car here this weekend, and various VIP track cars as well. GT3 version. I'm sure there's a GT2 knocking about as well. And now it's time for just 2 podium ceremonies, of course, because we only had 2 of our class races. The other 2, the Pro-Am and Am, coming up after this race is over and done with. (10:45) local time. So actually, by the time we've got these podiums done, it won't be very long before we go back on air for the second race. So almost should be able to hear the guys getting ready for the podiums. There you go. That is the noise of the pit lane being open for our Pro-Am and Ams. Let's get these 2 podiums underway then. Whilst we wait for the podium, let's remind ourselves of some of the key moments. Right then, let's get these podiums done. We've got drivers up on the podium. And first of all, we are celebrating the Am podium. Napoli and Randazzo. Italian drivers, Gabriele Rendone, Coupons, and Fedrioni up on the podium. Can they do it again this afternoon? Round 5, race 2, coming up this afternoon. Now, for someone like Gabriele Rendone, he will have also qualified in the second session of qualifying, whereas Napoli would have qualified in Q1 for race 1. Randazzo will have qualified for race 2. So I imagine that the position of that car, possibly with more work to do for Randazzo in the early part of the next race.
Fermo, siamo in onda. Un secondo.
And the good thing is, just 2 cars retiring out of that race, so not too much for the mechanics to do to get those cars turned around and ready for the second race of the afternoon, which will be at 1:15 local time. That is our race 2 for Am and Lamborghini Cup. But stay with us, because in just a couple of moments' time we're going to go live with the Pro and Pro-Am Race 1. You can see the cars already making their way out onto the circuit. The champagne already being sprayed, but we're going to need a quick clean on that overalls to get them ready for the second race.
Super Trofeo Europa, a più tardi sul podio.
That is podium 1, of course. We've now set or reset the podium for the Lamborghini Cup. And quite a change. Paglio Biglieri, championship leader, but they ended up second behind Jürgen Krebs, with the Privatellios getting themselves up into third position by the end. Charlie Martin with a good first stint, but Jason Keats couldn't hold on. He dropped back, and then so did Alfredo Hernandez Ortega by the end. So there are the Privatellios on the right-hand side. Matic and Biglieri on the left, and Krebs, your winner. So that was a German national anthem for Jürgen Krebs, even though he had a Swiss nationality on the side of his car. That part of the world where you're not quite sure which country you're actually from. Especially if you're Swiss. You're generally also Swiss German, or Swiss French, or Swiss Italian. Swiss on his overalls, but German up on the podium. Frederica handing out the trophies. Now, once again, I think Krebs can have a good run in the next race as well, because he will have done this qualifying and he will have got himself a good grid position. And they won't have that nervousness of the damp conditions at the start of the day. That is it then from race 1 for the AMS and the Lamborghini Cup. Thanks for joining us, and just give yourself a quick break. 10:45 local time. We'll be back with the Pro-Am and Pro Race 1 Round 5 here from Vallelunga. See you now.